Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Tyne meets Mersey. It's a brand new football podcast brought to you by myself, Kieran, as a Liverpool fan, and
I'm Oscar. I'm a Newcastle United fan through and through.
we just kind of had this idea. I myself run a social media called Puck Balls and Body Slams, talking about general sports, but we thought let's delve deeper into one of those sports, something we both know a lot about, and that is football. So we thought we'd have a bit of a chat about football, see how it goes. We've got different hot-taking people with us. We're going to talk about England, the World Cup, just anything in general football related.
Exactly that, yeah. I've got a question for you first, Kieran, actually. I've been meaning to ask this, we went straight in. Who is your favourite footballer and why? Get a general question to start off here.
This all time?
All-time favourite Liverpool player?
Favourite Liverpool player? It's a bit cliche, but I'm going to go Mo Salah, simply just because of when I first started watching football. It's Mo Salah. He's a great player as well, isn't he?
He is, but I was expecting a better answer from you, man.
No, I think it is just Salah. Just from when I kind of, growing up and whatnot, it was always him and Mane, Firmino.
Mane's a good one, fair.
So Mane's a great player. A lot of wasted potential when he left to join Bayern, but I think it's definitely Salah. There is a lot. I know there's some great players from Liverpool's history, but for me, it's definitely Salah. So, for you in Newcastle, who's your favourite Newcastle player?
I think growing up as a kid, I had a few. I think definitely Perez was one as well. Jose Perez was class in the day. Obviously, just left. Isaac, the whole situation with him when he left was fantastic. But I think for me, one who stood out for me always when I was younger, I just thought he had so much potential as well, was definitely Ben Arthur. But Ben Arthur was just such a talented footballer. Watching him with the ball at his feet, it was just magical. And then obviously his arrogance and maybe some other things let him down, and he just kind of didn't ever reach that potential.
I mean, as a kid, I didn't really watch Newcastle games, but one name that I heard getting tossed around a lot was Papa Cisse.
Yeah,
there was a lot of talk about Papa Cisse when I was younger, and how good he was. Him and Pollicini as well. Demba, there were some names that were running around heavily when I was growing up, but I didn't, of course, really watch football, and I wasn't as big on Newcastle. So
I think it's a good perspective that we've got, particularly I started watching football from before you did, and obviously you've kind of watched it from a later age, but obviously you still know a fair bit. You've caught up the knowledge that me and someone as our friend Joe, Joe's also a Liverpool fan. You might hear him on the podcast. He's watched football the same as me. He's also a Liverpool fan for years, and me and him, we'd say we know a decent amount about football, and Kieran does now, even though he's watched it years later. So,
yeah, I'd say I got into football probably about 10 years ago. Started showing small interest, and then it's when I switched schools when I was younger. Everyone kind of was really into football, and I was like, okay, I should probably start getting into it. And then I was just and I fell in love with Liverpool. It's just everything about the club, the atmosphere, the fans, the passion, the players, everything. It just got me really into. I mean, I do have relatives as well from Liverpool, and I used to go around on weekends and watch the Liverpool game with my uncle, and he grew up in Bootle, so it was definitely for me. It was either going to be Newcastle or Liverpool, and I just happened to go for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think the reason I supported Newcastle, I think, as you say, your explanation of supporting Liverpool was just my dad and my granddad. I think didn't really have an option to support another team. All my family are pretty much Newcastle fans. So yeah, I just didn't have an option. Fell in love with Newcastle from a very young age. Bought all the shirts and everything. So yeah, it was decent. But obviously, moving on from that's a bit of an introduction about ourselves. I think maybe moving on a little bit. Obviously, the big thing that's going on at the minute, the World Cup. Obviously, what do you first? I'll ask you, what do you think of the World Cup so far? What have you thought of it?
It's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Initially, I was excited, and then I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to be very good." There's a lot of discourse around it, but for me, it has been a very enjoyable World Cup.
I would agree. I don't think it's been as good as the last one so far, though. No. In my opinion, that could be people could disagree.
It's certainly got its flaws, and for me, I feel like there was a lot more, in a sense, before the 22 World Cup in Qatar. There was a lot more negativity surrounding that than this year. There's been a lot of negativity. Don't get me wrong, and a lot of the stuff in politics and off-pitch kind of drama surrounding the World Cup in America and of course Mexico and Canada, but mainly it's America that's got a lot of an issue. But for Qatar, there was a lot of concern about it beforehand, but it turned out to be probably one of the best World Cups ever.
It was, yeah.
Which that might be a bit of a hot take, but I know a lot of people really thoroughly thought it was a great World Cup.
Definitely myself as well.
And we're very accommodating as well for a lot of fans. But so far this year, I think it has been a good World Cup.
I think I agree with you as well. I think as well, to be honest, there was always that speculation, as you say, about the politics and everything around it. I want to ask you a question quick before we delve into a bit more about it. About what do you think about the hydration breaks? Because I know there's a lot of speculation about that. I mean, personally, I'm on the fence about it because I understand why they have the hydration break, and it's playing in 30, 40 degree weather in some places. You need it, but I don't think it should be as frequent. But I still think obviously you need it. But other people are saying it does break up the momentum of the game. Really,
I mean, I don't know. how many times is it? Is it twice or 3 times in the game?
Yeah, I think it's about twice or 3 times during the game.
So I know the first one's 20 minutes in, but I can tell from watching American sports, like watching basketball and hockey, I can see when the game breaks up. I know it's for advert.
Mm-hmm.
Like over here, you might not see it in England. Going on like ITV, BBC, we just keep the game rolling. You just hear the pundits kind of giving their thought. But in America, I know for a fact that's an advertisement break, which I think I don't mind a hydration break because it is necessary. But there wasn't a thing in Qatar, and that was like 40 degrees.
I know.
They just well ventilated. They didn't make sure it was good enough playing conditions. But I think a hydration break works if it is actually truly a hydration break. But for this, in my opinion, I know this is for adverts.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts a bit of a damper on it. And like I said about momentum, I watched the Germany-Curacao game, and Curacao scored. And when Germany kicked off, they kind of were shocked. You could see they looked a bit scared, Germany. They looked hesitant, and Curacao capitalised. They got in, and they were about to get into the box, but it went out for the throw-in. And before they could do anything about it, the hydration break. And I think that really negatively impacted Curacao, who, from the rest of the game, Germany just got on top of them, strangled them, and it was 7-1 before you knew it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously going back to before when you said about in America, you watch a lot more American sports than what I do. Saying about the most hydration breaks, or obviously they split it into quarters as well. Mm-hmm. Most of it's to do with money and advertising. But I mean, I seen a thing a couple of days ago where FIFA's president said that there was zero money being made on them hydration breaks. Again, I mean, he's claiming that. How true is it?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? How he could just be saying that and they could be making money, or certain like in England, maybe on English TV, not making any money. But we don't really have American TV here, so we don't particularly know.
No, for definite. I don't know if I fully 100% believe that, because it is definitely for adverts in America. Maybe the advert companies are probably going to be making more money and stuff from revenue of who's watching the World Cup. But I think at the same time, he could be telling the truth. They might not be making money, but I think personally, FIFA are probably going to be definitely making money from that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the other week. I was thinking about this. Obviously, I was looking back at even before the World Cup started. I don't know about you, but I made some predictions as well. And I think so far, I'll tell you everyone here my predictions so far. I think my predictions are going well. I had 2 dark horse teams I thought would do well. I said to you, you know my take. I'll tell everyone as well. Yeah. My first one was Ecuador. I know they nearly got groups, but what I like about Ecuador is they were in quite a hard group. Ivory Coast is a good team and Germany's a good team. And Ecuador looked down and out, and then they just seem to grind results out, and that honestly can get you far in a tournament. If look at Paraguay yesterday against Germany, they grinded that result. They sat back, they absorbed all the pressure and won on penalties. They can do that against a fair amount of teams and get quite far in the tournament. And that's why I think Ecuador's a dark horse, because I think Ecuador have actually got better quality than a team like Paraguay, and have got good attackers, and they've got a strong midfield and a strong defence. So I think they could go far. And the other one, which I said to everyone, I was rather laughed about, but I'm still sticking by it. First real hot take of this podcast is I think Morocco will get to a World Cup final this year. I really see it. I think Morocco have got such a strong team. Not even a team full of names like Brazil or France, but they're so good together. They all know each other's role. They all play around Hakimi because they know he's world class and he's the best. They play to his strengths. Let him push up. Like I remember that game against Brazil. When they scored their second, was Gabriel was so drawn towards Hakimi making that massive overlapping run on the right on the counter attack. He didn't close Morocco's striker down, and he scored from that. Because Gabriel had that mentality of Hakimi's making the overlapping run, let me close out to him. But instead of focusing on doing his job and closing the striker down, Morocco scored from it. I think they could use something like that as a weakness, other tactics as well.
I think I do definitely remember you first saying that, it being a slightly laughable take, and I can see where they're coming from. Personally, I don't believe they get to a final, but they definitely do have the potential to go far. I mean, even at the last World Cup, they got to the semi-finals. It was a great performance. Pretty sure they beat Portugal, didn't they?
Yeah, beat Portugal penalties. Yeah,
that was really that was quite a good game. I remember watching that one. And I definitely could see them going far. I personally don't think the World Cup final, but they definitely do have potential to go far. In my opinion, I'm not even knocking that. They are a very good team, Morocco. And even to get to, I mean, granted, there's a lot of controversy around it, but the final for AFCON this year, of course, it was Senegal won and then they didn't win, and but Morocco still had a pretty good game overall. So yeah, I could see them doing well. I really could. And you were saying about Germany, Paraguay, just to jump back to that, about the way they put absorbed the pressure and got the results. I think when you watch the game and how they played and everything they were doing and all the time wasting, I personally think their plan was to go to penalties. I think they've almost realise they're going to get Germany and they're going to go, right, we can't beat them in open play, so let's push them for penalties. And I think that's what their training sessions have been. There've been a lot of penalty-based stuff.
I feel like a lot of teams are doing that. Obviously, let's talk about England now, moving on, because it kind of links in with this point I'm about to make. When we played Ghana was it last week? Last week we played Ghana, was it?
Ghana,
well,
what are we did the 30th. We played Ghana. It was about a week ago.
About a week ago. I remember it was a really boring game to watch because Ghana are really solid defensively. It just sat in. England couldn't break them. I feel like that's happened with a lot of teams. Like Cape Verde versus Spain is a massive example. These teams are wanting to play for either a draw against the good teams and push for win against the weaker teams, or in knockouts they're thinking, oh right, look, we're not going to beat these in 90 minutes realistically. There's too much quality. If we try and push them in 90 minutes, we're going to get absolutely caught on the counter attack, or they're just going to go through us. Like, we've got to play for penalties and just practice penalties. Do you know what I mean? Which it's a strategy that works, but I mean at the same time it's like such a big risk, I feel.
It definitely is, and I think the way Ghana played definitely. The problem is with how the way England have played over the past, all three of their group games. Croatia was a good example. I think England played really well. Still, out the three, I mean, it's kind of a common thought. I think that was probably their best game so far in the competition. I mean, it was 4-2, obviously a high scoring game, a bit shaky at the back, but I think England definitely played the best. Then they played horrible against Ghana, and then even against Panama, I think they won 2-0, but they didn't have their best performance. But that's not a major reflection of the team being able to go far. I think I could see England still getting quite far in the competition, but I was, of course, saying to you earlier as well, if we get Mexico, I don't think they get past Mexico.
See, I disagree. I think we still can, even with the quality we have. I mean, I'm not writing off Mexico completely, but I know you obviously the factors where you were saying to me about the heat and the atmosphere and their host. But I just still think England, if England play how they did in the second half against Panama in our latest game that we've just played, I think we could beat Mexico.
Yeah, I think the second half was much better on Saturday night against Panama. I think the first half was dull, very flat. There wasn't much going on, and that wasn't even a reflection on either side sitting back or anything like that. It was just neither side could really click. They couldn't. There was nothing working. And then in the second half, England scored 2 goals. Bellingham's goal was really good. I think it was a brilliant goal.
I think he's had
around the defender, but he's had a great tournament.
He has. Yeah, I was about to say that he has.
But it's kind of given me shades in a way of the way England played at the Euro 2024. I think a lot of fans are still saying, how did England get to the final that year? Because there was a lot of games where you look and you go, how have they managed to win this? Or how have they gotten past this team? And maybe, are we going to have that conversation of, are England that team that are always going to be, maybe they're going to get this far, but they're probably not going to win it. They've got to find what works to get that last step and be one of them teams where they're viewed as, England could actually win this year. Yeah,
I think similar to what you've said there, a big talking point is obviously Thomas Tuchel, renowned manager. I was happy when we appointed him. Was I happy about his selection? Not at all. I thought a lot of players should have gone, and I think at first I was like, I'm not happy. Like with Maguire and Lewis Hall, obviously as a Newcastle fan, maybe he's a bit biased. Lewis Hall was the biggest one for me. How he did not get on the plane was miles beyond me. But I understand where he was coming from. He obviously knew more than what we probably did because he'd been to all the different games, scouted, probably done reports, his system. But now I've watched them over 3 games. I just think sometimes, especially when that first game against Croatia, when we were really shaky at the back, I thought we could have done with Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire gets slated a lot for Man United at times, and I think he's quite good, Harry Maguire, and I think he's brilliant in an England shirt because he's so passionate about playing for his country. But I do think we just needed that experience at the back because it looked shaky. I think Lewis Hall, we've got nothing up the left-hand side, realistically.
No,
we've got absolutely nothing.
I don't know if it's like necessarily a common theme in general. I'm pretty sure it is. I think everyone kind of says the same thing. And I personally believe, I think with Thomas Tuchel's squad selection, it is a good squad. It's good. There's a lot of players he's picked that have been generally good for England, which is what you look for. You don't look for it. I mean, you do, but you don't look for players that are good at club level as well. You've got to look for ones that in friendlies and qualifiers have played well for you. And I think that was one of them was Noni Madueke. A lot of people said he's not been great for Arsenal. He's not very good on the right hand side. But when he played for England, he was good. But a lot of the questions were around the defence, and now we're in a serious crisis where we realistically haven't got an out and out right back because he's Livermento's home and he's injured. Reece James has picked up an injury.
Which we knew was going to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's injury prone.
We've now got Jed Spence lane where he honestly has not had a great season. He has played very well for England at this World Cup so far, and we're now going to either play him or Jarrell Kwanzaa, who also has now picked up an injury. So we're pretty stuck.
Yeah.
And one name I think personally that should have been taken is Trent. I mean,
I do agree with you. Yeah.
He's not brilliant as a defender. This has been a common theme around Trent for maybe since about 2020. A lot of people have been saying, look, Trent's not a great defender. He's better going forward, creating chances. But you kind of need that in your team. And Trent for Madrid, when he's come off the bench, he's been pretty good. He's not been amazing, and he's not hit his heights he did at Liverpool, but he has been good for Madrid, and he should have at least been considered to go on the plane. And not having him, not having Lewis Hall, like you said, Maguire. Maguire. There's a lot of them where it's like, why are you taking these people? Dan Burn as well, another one. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
He played well for England when he had his first little spell after, it would have been, I remember he first got called up just after Newcastle won the Carabao Cup last year, which I totally agreed with at the time, and he was good for the start of last season, but he started kind of falling off a little bit, and it's like, why are you taking Dan Burn? I think that's a spot could have went to somebody else, so definitely.
Yeah, I think if people like Maguire aren't getting it and you're picking Dan, but I'm saying this as a Newcastle fan, I love Dan Burn to bits. I've loved him for years. He's been fantastic for my club, and he will go down as a legend at my club in my eyes just because he's a local hero, isn't he? But I think, why is Harry Maguire not getting it again, as you say? He's experienced, he's played for England, do you know what I mean? Dan Burn hasn't had that experience playing for England as much, and he kind of started getting a bit better when, later on in his career, so he never got the chance. Maguire was good when he was young. Obviously, he played for Hull. Obviously, he got a move to Leicester, got his big money move from Leicester to Man United.
He was at Sheffield as well, wasn't he?
He was, you're right. I think he was, yeah. I didn't count Sheffield, but yeah. I think moving on towards England as well here, I think I'm going to ask you, if you were England against Congo tomorrow night, what would your start 11 be with the current selection that we currently have, and maybe it's a bit of why? I'll ask you that.
I think we've got the small issue you've got to think about is, again, injuries. And at the stage of the competition, you don't take this stage of the competition as kind of as important as what it should be as when you get to the quarters or the semis. And now we've got that extra game where you've got to play because it's around the 32, not the 18. And it is Congo, where, not to knock on Congo or say that England are much better than them, which on paper that they should be, they definitely are. But I think they could cause issues. But I think if we were to build a starting 11, I think definitely in goals still probably Pickford.
Yeah.
We've got some good backups in James Trafford and Dean Henderson, but I don't see either of them getting in. Maybe Henderson if Pickford was to get slightly injured, but I think you just stick with Pickford. He's always just been that man in the net for England. Between the sticks, every single competition, he's just brilliant. Left back, and I'll do both left back and right back. Jed Spencer's on the right. I think I read something earlier on that is the selection we haven't got anyone else.
You said
so Jed Spencer is the right back. Left back, I'm not 100% sure on. And then your two centre backs, I think probably maybe Esri Konsa.
Yeah,
I think he has had an alright tournament so far.
He got lucky, mind, at one point. That tackle he did against
that
Ghana.
was a rough tackle.
That should be the penalty. That was poor, but as you say,
yeah, absolutely. This is the problem. You're trying to rack your brain for the defence because of all the injuries. Now you're trying to think, who are you going to put in this team? If you just mentioned Dan Burn, you could maybe give Dan Burn a little run out.
No, maybe,
because again, as I've said, it's important to get through, and it absolutely is, because you don't want to fall at the first hurdle. But do you maybe rest some of the bigger players for the more important games? And you've got a lot more physical games coming up as well. If you look at the path, obviously like it's Mexico or Ecuador, then you get any team between France or anyone, and you don't want any other teams where you've not playing your strongest squad. So I'll have to come back to left back.
Left back, I was thinking Nico O'Reilly.
Oh,
I think it'd have to be because he's not injured and he's good, O'Reilly. So I think it'd probably be Nico O'Reilly, wouldn't it?
I think he definitely had. He was one of the best players, I think, in the first game. Nico O'Reilly. Mm-hmm. I can't believe I didn't really think of him there. That's
I was thinking, when are you going to think of Nico O'Reilly? I was
absolutely Nico O'Reilly. Yeah, he was phenomenal against Croatia. He really was. Moving into midfield, I'd probably go I would definitely stick with Bellingham unless you really want. If I'm Tuchel, do I want to rest him? You've got to kind of think that. If you want to, you could probably just swap in Morgan Rogers. I think they both have very similar roles, but I think probably stick with Bellingham and Elliot Anderson as well. He's been a great player so far.
Yeah, I love him. He's a brilliant player.
I think maybe I've seen a lot of people that he wasn't a very good footballer after the Ghana game. It's nobody's ready for that. He isn't a great footballer. I was no, one bad game doesn't make a footballer.
No, of course it doesn't.
I think he is still very good. And
people like that, you just got to ignore them. They're clearly just, they're so reactionary. They're just he's on one bad game. He's not very good. It's every player's a bad game. Messi and Ronaldo, the greatest of all time, have bad games. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a bad game. So.
Definitely Ronaldo. What was the first game? Was it 0-0?
Yeah, he was absolutely woeful.
Was terrible.
He was woeful. He was poor.
You can't base it on one game, as you said. That's someone that's won countless Ballon d'Ors, Champions League, everything. You know what I mean? You can't go, he's not very good because he didn't score against this team or whatever. But definitely, I think stick with Anderson midfield as well. Then at top, you've got. I seriously don't know why he's not had much game time, but I think Saka, he's. I personally.
Well, he picked up an injury, didn't he? He wasn't, and he's not. For him and Declan Rice aren't fully fit. I don't think they're the full fitness yet.
That's why I've left Declan Rice out of the midfield. I did remember him getting a slight pick. He picked up something slight in the Ghana game, and I think it was kind of aggravated in the Panama games. I could see Future probably resting Declan Rice. Saka, I could see being ready to come back. Maybe keep him on the bench and play Madueke, because again, Madueke's not been terrible. He's not been great, but he started well. Then you go to the Ghana game. I don't think any of the England players played well in the Ghana game. So
they didn't. You can't judge it off that, can you?
They're all as bad as each other, really. And I think the Panama game, Madueke did have a decent performance. But again, could see Saka, but it's between them two. On the left, I'd probably stick with Anthony Gordon. I think he's done all right. He's not been terrible. And of course, down the middle you go Harry Kane, don't you?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. I think he's, in my eyes, England's only world class player. Maybe he's Bellingham as well.
Yeah.
But I just think you've got to have him, don't you? Yeah. I think mine's similar to yours. I think I'd go Pickford in goal. I'd play O'Reilly.
I'll say Gahey at centre back as well. Jed Spencer right back. But I remember I'd missed off a centre back. I would go for Gahey there.
Yeah, I'd play Gahey and Conter as well. I'd play midfield too. I'd the same as you. I'd rest Declan Rice. Assess him, see how he is. But if he's still not fit enough, it's fine. Give Kobbie Mainoo a game. Give him a game. Give him and Anderson in the middle. A nice young physical midfield. The only thing I don't like about Kobbie Mainoo is he's not that athletic. When you watch him play for Man United, he's good on the ball and he's so good at holding the ball, but he's just not very athletic at all. Anderson's athletic and good on the ball. But Kobbie Mainoo, I feel like Congo play quite quick football. Obviously, they've got Wissa and Bakambu up top. Yeah. Obviously, Bakambu, one of my favourite footballers. Wissa maybe he's not, he plays for Newcastle. But they're really quick, the pair of them up top. So I think maybe it could be an issue with Mainoo. But then again, who are you going to bring on in that midfield? Jordan Henderson?
I don't think Jordan Henderson should get any minutes.
No, he's neither. But you know what I mean.
The thing about Jordan Henderson, I think, as far as an actual footballer goes, he's not amazing, but he's a good leader. So when he decides he's going to hang up the boot, I think he would be a phenomenal manager.
Oh, he would be, yeah.
And I could see him even, he could be one of them players to even be, speaking to Tuchel from the bench. If he needs advice on something, he's there. But how long he's been in the England squad, he can, be like, oh, well, this is how he plays, this is how he plays. Because he would be a great manager, but on the pitch, he's not brilliant. And I think Mainoo, as you said, due to the lack of the physicality, I think maybe bring him on as a sub. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't start him personally, but I could definitely see him getting some minutes against Onga.
Yeah, exactly, fully. And then I'd play on the left. I'd play Rashford again. I actually think he's been pretty good for us, Rashford. I can't believe that Tuchel was starting Gordon over him every time.
Personally, I think Gordon hasn't played horribly. I think just a lot, for some reason, when you look at the way England play, they kind of sweep the ball when they're going up pitch. It's just kind of drifting more to the right. All the players kind of go a bit more to the right.
I said that as well. I agree.
Gordon, if given the chance, could play well, but I think it kind of works where you have Gordon starting, but then you have Rashford come on and he's a lot more impactful.
Yeah, the thing is with Rashford and Gordon is, when I look at it, Gordon isn't a clinical winger. He's not clinical at all. He can score goals sometimes, but his work effort and his rate is so high. He's such a good presser of the ball. He's so good because he's so quick. Whereas you look at Rashford's a bit more clinical and can do exciting things and create a goal or get an assist more than Gordon can. But I don't think Rashford's got that work rate as much as what Gordon does. He works hard, but sometimes you just watch him, and if he loses the ball, there's times I've watched him for Man United as well, and Barcelona. He loses the ball, he kind of just slackens a bit and doesn't go win it back. Do you know what I mean? The mentality is you lose the ball, you've got to try and get it back.
You were saying about Anthony Gordon not being a great finisher. I wouldn't have been able to tell you how many goals he scored, but thanks to Geordie Josh's pick-up. How many goals he scored for Newcastle.
Should try and get Geordie Josh as a potential guest one day.
Jesus.
Yeah. Do you know what? I said this, obviously moving a bit away now, but Geordie Josh, we met him, didn't we? When we were... you weren't there. Me and my friends went for a night out in Newcastle, few of us, and Jet2 Holiday, and we're doing a promotion, and Geordie Josh was there, and I met him, and a few of us met him. Actually, off camera, he's a really nice lad. But on camera, we'd have to maybe... it would be amazing to have him here. I mean, it never will probably happen, but it would be really funny. Yeah. But anyway, moving on from that, I think let's talk about move away from England a bit.
Well, first of all, what do you think score predictions-wise? What is the score going to be?
Oh, yeah, good point. I still think England will win. I'm going to go 2-0 England. I still think England will win. I think they can comfortably do it. If they play how they did against Panama, I don't think Congo will be much of an issue. But again, it's the problem is, I think the hardest thing is it's not even Congo. I think it's England themselves. If England make it hard themselves, then they'll struggle. But realistically, they should beat Congo. I'm going to go 2-0. I think Harry Kane will score 2.
I'm going to go the same lead, but it's not 2-0. I think we do, because of how shaky the defence has been, I think Congo can capitalise and get a goal.
Yeah, I mean, Wissa's looked alright this morning.
Wissa has been pretty good for Congo.
Same with Elanga, honestly. I was laughing about this. They looked so poor last season for Newcastle, and then all of a sudden this World Cup, they're just playing unbelievable.
It's just a different kettle of fish.
It is, yeah.
It's just what certain players work in certain systems with different teammates. They just don't work in others. But I mean, there's always next season for that. Find out.
Oh yeah.
Newcastle and how they play. But for definite, I think Wissa could probably get a goal, either him or Bakombu.
My goat.
And I think they definitely get a goal, and I think England definitely Hurricane gets a goal, 100%, maybe even two. You could see Bellingham maybe getting a goal, Rashford, Gordon. There's a numerous amount of players, but I'm going to go 3-1 England.
It's a good one there. Obviously, talk about some of the games that happened yesterday as well. We'll start off with Netherlands and Morocco. I didn't watch it because was it like 5 o'clock in the morning or something?
So it was a 2 a.m. kickoff.
2 a.m.
But
yeah.
obviously by the time it finishes, not especially if it went to penalties, you're going to be going to bed at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one, but I seen obviously I woke up and looked at the highlights and seen the stuff. Obviously, talking point. Obviously, a lot of people Netherlands at the minute. These past couple of World Cups. I mean, they're not quite the side they used to be years ago, I don't think. I think it's a similar...
I think you can say the same for a lot of teams.
Brazil's
the same. Spain haven't looked brilliant, which is very surprising because I think Spain was a massive favourite going into
I have Spain to win the World Cup. I still do, but I think...
I could still see them winning. They'll go far, but I think they've just disappointed a little bit.
Yeah.
But of course, back to the Netherlands. I was going to say that, well, who scored for the Netherlands for Cody Gakpo? And like you were saying about Alanga and Wissa being not very good for Newcastle, but great at national level, Gakpo's been phenomenal for the Netherlands, again, at another World Cup, despite having a terrible season for us.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people I have heard disagree and say Gakpo's been alright, but for me personally, I haven't enjoyed watching him play.
Obviously, it was a special moment for Gakpo. Well, it was a special moment for him, obviously scoring, because obviously the news that his child had miscarried as well. So condolences to him, of course.
Absolutely.
It must be a horrible feeling. So it was nice to see him score. Obviously, when he started crying, I thought, it's quite a wholesome moment for him. It was nice. And but then obviously Morocco, Diop as well, former. I don't know. Does he still play for West Ham? Diop? I don't actually know.
Diop.
No, does he play for Fulham?
I'm not too sure.
I know he played for Fulham or West Ham. Anyway, he scored obviously late on. Nice header. It's a Diop.
It was It's surprising to see the Netherlands go this early because they have been really coined as the perennial dark horses since about probably 2010 when they got to the final.
It's the same with Belgium though. Like, I'm sick of hearing this Belgian gimmick of Belgium's golden age. Belgium are dark horses. They never have been, and they never will. They haven't got that good of a squad. They're a good side, but obviously I will get onto that game in a bit because we're going to talk about it in a bit as well. But moving on to Morocco, my dark horses, I'm telling you, they look good. They look a good side, and I generally think they can find out results and they can just keep going and get to a final. Will they win it? I don't think they will, because I think there's other teams in there who can do it. But
I do definitely agree. Like I said, I could see them doing well, as I said earlier. I don't see them winning. Personally, again, I also don't see them getting to the final. But for definite, I think they are in a slight dark horse kind of category, especially how well they did the last one, I've said. And it's just one of them teams where I don't see them doing as brilliantly, but they definitely are a good side. And one that really shocked me actually was yesterday's game as well, was Brazil-Japan. I'd said for probably about 2 months or something, if Brazil played Japan, Japan would beat Brazil. And they looked really good, and they pushed really hard. Even the manager of Japan had come out and said in the press conference, we're not here to, slouch, they're here to win the World Cup, which sure, that should be everyone's mentality, but there's a lot of teams that mentality is not, they're not going to win the World Cup. Everyone goes to do as best as they can, but teams like Curacao are going to go, we're going to win this. You know what I mean? They're going to go, we're going to try and beat some good teams and do well. But Japan are coming in and explicitly saying, look, we might not have the strongest squad or the best players, but we're going to try and win this. And that mentality showed on that pitch, and they pushed everything. They just were straight in every time. Every time we'll try to win, they were getting the ball in the final third every time. And Brazil, unfortunately, did just come back in the second half stronger.
Yeah, we'll get on to Brazil and Japan in a minute. We're going to move on to the next game. The game I did watch last night was Germany and Paraguay. The first real shock of the World Cup. If you asked me, honestly, Germany looked quite a strong side, actually. They're in the group stage, they looked quite strong, and I thought, for the first time I watched them last night, I mean, I know they were all over Paraguay, but they just didn't look like scoring at all. Paraguay were fantastic. I mean, the mighty Miguel Almiron and his men, as I say, I was laughing about that last night with a friend, but, Paraguay should have won earlier on penalties. I did think when Neuer saved that, I thought, this could maybe shift the tide of momentum.
I thought that initially. I'd said, when Musiala stepped up, actually, if anything, I was sat there watching it, one eye open and everything, because it was at 1 in the morning, but it was when Musiala stepped up for the penalty. I remember the altercation earlier on between him and one of the Paraguay players. I do forget his name, but initially Musiala went in and he did a really nasty tackle.
He shouldn't have been on the pitch.
I think that could have been a red card.
I think it was. Yeah.
The commentators didn't seem to think so. They said
I disagree. I thought
definitely looks like a yellow, but for me, definitely could have been a red card. But then, of course, he's kind of lost his head a bit there. But then that player for Paraguay did the exact same thing to him, and then they both took penalties consecutively, and I genuinely thought that was going to get Musiala's head and he was going to miss, but he managed to just squeeze it past keeper.
Yeah, I tell you who, it sounds so bad, but I knew he was going to miss his penalty. I think you know who I'm going to say, it was Voltemada.
Yeah.
He just didn't look confident stepping up, and I thought it's his
first World Cup.
And he's had a hard time at Newcastle. I like Voltemada, I really do, and I think he'll become a good player, but I obviously he's had a hard time. But it was so obvious where he was going to go. I think, like, do you know what I mean? I'm trying to explain it. It's like he stepped up, I remember, and he just tried to angle his body, and the keeper straight at Gill, who was fantastic, by the way, for Paraguay. Orlando Gill,
well,
he was huge, like Donnarumma size. Like, he was fantastic, and it was a good save, but it was such a poor penalty. And Jonathan Tart, I didn't expect him to miss. That was a really
bad penalty.
Yeah,
Like, not to sound critical of, but that was not a very good penalty at all. And I honestly thought he could have scored as well.
You wouldn't see me miss those, just saying.
I think something we laughed about last night as well was our friend. It said, "Oh, Voltemada's going to go bottom right here. He's going to drop it bottom right," and we were like, "Yeah, sure." And well, Voltemada did go bottom right, but it was saved, and it was just quite funny because he was like, "Oh, he's going to score," but he obviously did.
No, he didn't, did he? Absolute shock of the World Cup. First of many. I think there'll be a few.
Absolutely.
I think there's got to be every World Cup, really. Moving on to the next game we're talking about, Brazil versus Japan. Obviously, you had your little bet, didn't you?
I did. I had an knocker on for every game in the bracket, and it lost straight away. I think, in fact, it might have lost. Well, I lost 2 games in a row because I had Germany to obviously beat Paraguay. I wasn't expecting Paraguay to actually win. Because you think about upsets and you think about certain teams. Are they going to win? Are they going to are they going to upset this team? For me personally, I couldn't in a million years see Paraguay beating Germany.
No,
that was something I was not expecting at all. But Paraguay did look quite strong in the group stages for a smaller team. Probably shouldn't have counted them out as much, but we've definitely got some big games coming up, and I think some upset definitely will be happening as we get later on. They always seem to start picking up around the quarterfinals, and it'll be good to just keep a keen eye on the tournament going forward.
Obviously, going back to Brazil and Japan now, I was going to make a point of it. Obviously, one of my favourite players, my club captain, Bruno Guimaraes, with the winning assist, of course. He's been brilliant this World Cup. He really has. The first game against Morocco, I will say, he looked very he got an assist, but he looked very shaky. The other 3, he's shining, and he's proven why. I genuinely believe he's been one of those underrated midfielders in the world for years.
I genuinely do agree. I really like Bruno Guimaraes, and I think even for Newcastle, when you have a look at last season, having a less than stellar season, and everybody knows it is because of Europe. Newcastle always have done better when they're not in Europe. Like for the past couple of years, I think 2 seasons in the Champions League, 2 very underwhelming seasons. And I think last season, especially when you didn't have Bruno because of suspensions or injuries, you played a lot worse.
Yeah.
You might not have played brilliant anyway, but he's like the glue for your team. He's an absolutely fabulous footballer.
I'd be devastated if he goes. I still don't think he will, but that could bite me in the tongue in the next couple of days, maybe. But I don't think he will.
I mean, if you want to discuss transfers and stuff as well, there's been a lot of rumours swirling. I think one was definitely him leaving.
Yeah.
Even his teammate in Newcastle, Ben Ali, not at this World Cup, obviously, because of Italy not qualifying, but potentially him leaving Newcastle. That one I could see.
I fully think that is. I think there's Newcastle, looking at it from my point of view, I think we've got to accept that he's going to go. I don't agree why he's going to Spurs, though. I generally think that could be a step backwards. I know Spurs have got a good project going on, and like De Zerbi, a good manager, Van Heck they've just signed as well, a couple of other players as well. But I just don't think Tottenham. People are already putting Tottenham, but like when I look at predictions, like up high in the league, and I'm thinking it's going to take time. You've had the worst season in probably the club's history. Do you know what I mean? Nearly getting relegated. Could have easily got relegated. I thought they were going to get relegated, to be fair.
I mean, they weren't far off. I mean, because if you look at it, all the possibilities it was just Tottenham. Just if they lost that game and West Ham won, which West Ham did win their game. If Tottenham were to lose, they go down.
Yeah.
But Tottenham luckily won their game. But if they hadn't of, they would have went down. They were this close. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But you're talking about stuff being like, it's a working process and it's transitional. Again, back to like watching American sports. For me, I've seen a lot of there's teams where they kind of start trading players away and they're like bringing in new players and all that stuff. And there's kind of question marks around it, but you never really see the managers get sacked. It's very rare you see a head coach getting sacked from an American team because they understand transitional seasons. I feel like when you come and watch the Premier League, the expectancy is a lot higher.
Yeah, it is.
Because stuff like this where you're saying it's like a work in progress and that, there's like you've got the likes of De Zerbi at Spurs. He's going to be in a lot of scrutiny if he doesn't do well with Spurs in the first probably month. In the first by match day 5 Spurs or anywhere near the bottom of the table, there's probably going to be question marks around it, which it's just the way it is in English football and
no, exactly,
generally really the top 5 leagues. And you some fans can't get behind trust in the process as much. Whereas I do think Tonali, for Spurs, it is a good move. For him, is it? That's the real question, because he's in a good position with Newcastle, where Newcastle are always going to be, now with the level of team they are, they're going to be pushing high mid-table into European spot.
Yeah.
Whereas Spurs now are looking a bit shaky, where sure I could see them pinning it around and getting top half or potentially even just about 10th, but there is also that risk of they've been in very close to the drop 2 seasons in a row. Do they actually this year? Is it the year that they go down, or do they turn it around? You just don't know.
Exactly. I think moving, like, obviously you've talked about Tonali there for Newcastle transfers. Obviously, there's a real stigma at the minute going around of Liverpool. It's been there for multiple seasons. Liverpool sort of hijacking Newcastle tears, and the latest one, obviously, I see a grin on your face there as I'm talking about this. Obviously, Munoz as well. Munoz going to Liverpool now as well, just when we literally almost had him pen to paper. Even if I'm not just saying it's out of spite or anything. Munoz was I think he would have been a good signing, but at the same time, I think he could just be another Gordon, because he's only scored. I'm not, I'm not one for big bean statistics. I think statistics are important, but I think it's also you should look away from statistics. But the important statistic here is he's only scored 6 goals this season. He's created the good statistic is I've seen. He's created, I think it was maybe a couple less chances than Lamine Yamal and other players from Madrid and Atletico as well, which is a brilliant stat for Osasuna. But I mean, again, will he work? I feel like Liverpool might have not done as much scouting and just let us do the scouting, see that, he fits our profile as well. Where Liverpool, we've got more money, we've got more pull than Newcastle. Bang, just offer loads of money. He's wanting to go to us.
That's certainly the thing, I think.
I think it's not just you, I think it's big 6 teams as well.
It is. Don't get me wrong, this isn't me having a pop at Newcastle, but obviously teams like Liverpool and Man United, Spurs, they have got naturally more transfer pull. A much bigger club. And if a player is being looked at by the likes of Newcastle, a lot of players probably don't even know, they've never heard of Newcastle, and then they go, oh wait, Liverpool are coming in for me. Oh, well, I'm going to go for them.
I think as well, it's a funny one. I generally think geographical location comes into place. Especially with London teams, it's I remember years ago we tried to sign James Maddison. I remember Maddison only said it in an interview after the reason he went to Spurs was because he did the project as well. I think he would have worked wonders under Eddie Howe for us. But obviously he had 2 kids at the time. He had another one on the way, and it's so much easier living in London than it is up in freezing Newcastle. Do you know what I mean?
I think Semenyo said that actually as well. I remember watching, it was a video with away days when he did the football shirt shopping. Semenyo had said he got his move to Sunderland from, I can't remember where he was, and he was on loan at Sunderland. It didn't last very long because COVID hit, and he got moved back to where he was, to his parent club. But he got loaned to Sunderland, and he even said all he could really say about it was nice, it was good. He played a couple of games, but it was cold. He wasn't used to it. He's used to being in the warm weather down south, and it's a lot colder up here.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is genuinely a massive factor. It totally is. And going back to you saying about statistics, you were saying, I probably should look at them, not look at them. Even surrounding Liverpool and Newcastle's transfer saga, Isak. When Newcastle signed Isak, he'd only scored about 6 or 7 goals in.
Yeah, exactly, true.
In Paul Sociedad before he signed. And
he was injured as well when we got him.
Exactly.
He had a bad injury.
So, and he went on to perform absolutely brilliantly for Newcastle.
Yeah.
He's not been great for us so far. Again, big injury. But and when he has played, I thought he looked really good for us. But it's just about getting his match fitness back up. And hopefully that's what the World Cup will supply, because he's been all right for Sweden. But there's definitely a lot of...
Yeah.
That's a big factor.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Obviously, moving on now to someone who has decided to reject Liverpool, to the disgust of a lot of Liverpool fans who, to be fair, I thought he would have gone to Liverpool and not PSG's Diamande. Now, I've got a hot take, though. I will say this. I've watched Diamande quite a bit now, because obviously his name's in the headlines, and he's always on my Instagram feed and whatever. When I've watched him, I'm not that impressed by him. Don't get me wrong, he's a brilliant player. He's obviously he's a bit like Semenyo. He's tall and he's quite powerful. But as you say, I think PSG have said they don't want to sell Barcola. Maybe have him as a squad player, but my opinion on Barcola, I've said to you before, is I don't think he's actually that good. And I don't think, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be thinking, no, don't go for him. I generally think I labelled him as a French Anthony Gordon. Maybe he's a bit better, but it's the same ideology. He's so good at pressing and he works hard, but he can't hit a barn door to save his life, and he doesn't even create any assists or anything. And if he can't do it in the French league, then how on earth is he going to do it in a faster paced league in the Premier League? I say that he has scored a goal at the World Cup, and it was a good goal, to be fair. He took it well. But obviously one game is not going to change my opinion about him. A whole season or two has to before I can start thinking, I'm wrong.
Absolutely. I think he is a decent player in my eyes. I do like him. I would take him at Liverpool probably, especially with the way kind of wingers we've got now. Obviously, we've no longer got Salah, even though there was a few things where it's is Salah staying? There's been a lot of talk of him potentially actually staying, but I couldn't see, for kind of the reputation of the player and the club, for them both to go, oh, well, actually, no, it's fine, he's going to stay. After all the public everything getting aired out and all that stuff, and the tension between him and former manager Arne Slot, could you really justify saying, oh, well, he's announced he's leaving, we've kind of given him his flowers, being one of the best ever, and then you go, oh, it's fine, he's just staying for another season. Can you justify that?
No, not really.
It kind of makes the club look a bit like a doormat, to be honest.
It does, to be fair.
It's sending the message to players, oh, well, I can just play for Liverpool, and when I want to leave, I can choose to leave. But then they'll just be like, it's fine, you can come back.
Yeah.
There's a difference between having a family feel to your football team, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, let's just let the players run the club. And that was a big problem with PSG. When they had Mbappe, was because Mbappe was there, and Mbappe was literally made sporting director. That is ridiculous. The players should not have that kind of power at all.
No players bigger than the badge. Even players like Messi, Ronaldo, who are the greatest of all time, are not bigger than Barcelona and Real Madrid. No footballer is bigger than a badge. You can be the greatest player of all time, but you're playing in a team. You're playing for a club. You're getting paid to play for that club.
Exactly.
Your boss is the sporting director and the CEO of the club and the owner. You don't try and go above them just because he wants to leave. And then look at PSG now. They've sold players like Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar. All three of them were superstars.
Mm-hmm.
Mbappe still is a superstar, really. And Messi is, to be honest.
Yeah.
But now they've actually went and bought players they needed. They've scouted players. They've bought players they needed. And they're a formidable team. They look so good, to be honest with you. Obviously, I'm going to talk about one more transfer before we move on to the really anticipated hot takes.
Yeah, this is the last part of the episode is the hot takes.
There is some good ones. We've asked 10 different people, different hot takes. We'll get onto that in a minute. But it's a Newcastle one. I don't know. I know quite a bit about him as a player from. I did mention this before, from Football Manager.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Mazabi, the Swiss defensive holding midfielder. He is brilliant, and Newcastle are really interested in him, and it's only 40 million, and he's I think he's 22, I think.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a no-brainer, especially if Tonali goes, that's your replacement there. As tis a stat for you as well, obviously, he's played in Switzerland's in Switzerland's group stage games. He's got 2 out of the 3 man of the matches, or 2 out of the 4 man of the matches. No, 2 of the 3, sorry. 2 of the 3 man of the matches because he played 4 games. Granit Xhaka got the other, obviously, who is being classed for Sunderland. I can't even lie. He's probably been signing this season.
You can't deny it. Granit Xhaka has been phenomenal. I'm not too sure if I put him in my Premier League team of the season, but he was an absolutely brilliant player for Sunderland. Which is it's strange to say, kind of like when he was at Arsenal, he didn't really hit them heights where he was good.
He was solid.
He was a solid midfielder, but and then he got his move to Leverkusen, and it was all the joke about, oh, well, he's joined a team he's never even heard of because he didn't want to play for Eric Ten Hag, which that was pretty funny.
I remember that.
I don't know if you've seen the TikTok of Sunderland being like, oh, Granit, what do you love about Sunderland? Great club, great fans, brilliant atmosphere. It's like, you don't know this place, do you? But he's
up for a challenge, isn't he?
He is, and he got the captain's armband. He come in, he was phenomenal. Obviously, of course, on the topic of transfers, he's linked with potentially a move to Chelsea.
I think he'll go. I think he will.
I'm not 100% sure because he is still very passionate about Arsenal. You can even see that, even some of his social media and some of his stuff he's done, some of the stuff he said post leaving Arsenal. That I feel like, I don't know if would he go to one of Arsenal's rivals, but Chelsea is a more attractive club.
He's even openly said he wants to go, and obviously this is what's causing Sunderland fans to go mental, which is they're like, oh, you said last season that you wanted to help build the Sunderland project. I mean, to be fair, I understand where they're coming from. I would be annoyed.
Yeah,
he's completely sold you a dream, and he's sold you a lie, and he said, "Oh, we're going to build this, and we're going to build on this." And but they've just got European football for the first ever time, and he's wanting to go to Chelsea, which at the minute they're a bit of a mess. Chelsea at the minute, they're still going through that transitional build of trying to build a super team, which is their aim, which is Todd Bowley, even though he's one of the biggest prats going around, idiots really. He's got the idea, and the idea is there to build that super team.
Yeah.
I personally think for Granit Xhaka, I think it's a wrong move going to Chelsea. But I think if Chelsea offer the right amount of money for Sunderland will think, oh yeah, we spent loads last year, we need to maybe try and make a bit back.
I mean, in terms of Xhaka, I think I could see him fitting into Todd Bowley's, his 4-4-3 formation and at the Bowley Bowl in America. That would definitely be a great fit. No, I'm agreeing with you there. The
Yeah.
he doesn't know anything about football. I'm not going to pretend I know much about his business and like how good of a businessman he is, but he's got a lot of money, so it kind
Yeah.
of speaks for itself. But
Yeah, exactly.
I get what you're saying. He's trying to make Chelsea, a lot better than what they kind of were recently and stuff.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, in a way, losing Abramovich has been detrimental to Chelsea.
It has,
because he did run the club really well. Obviously, I know, but you probably couldn't keep him. He couldn't have stayed owner of Chelsea. Even the government kind of said that and all that stuff. But that's all like the political debate and whatnot. But I definitely think, again, Granit Xhaka, a great player, great for Sunderland. I don't think it's a great move for him, for either side, because I don't think Chelsea look that good. As you said, they are a bit of a mess. But I can see why you probably want to go to Chelsea over staying at Sunderland. Exactly. But for me, as a player, I'd personally just stay at Sunderland, especially when you've got Europe as well.
I think I would stay as well. I mean, I hate Sunderland.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every Sunderland fan hates Newcastle, but if I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you've got European football. Mm-hmm. You're captain of a club. The fans adore you. They worship you. Mm-hmm. Stay. You don't go to a mess. It's exactly the same actually with Tonali. Hmm? Why we worship Sandro Tonali? We haven't got European football, fair enough. But Spurs haven't either. If Spurs had European football, now it's like, oh, fair enough, they've got European football, go to them.
It's the same as Isak though, isn't it? Really, in a way, because I'd seen how he was like a cult hero for Newcastle. You know what I mean? Everyone in Newcastle was like, Isak's class. He's great. He's a great footballer, great striker. He scores lots of goals. They love him. They worship the ground he walks on. But then that was where a lot of the issues came in about him leaving. Yeah. He was refusing to play for the team. He'd said he moved. He said he was made promises, and I've said probably since last summer that I don't believe it's all Isak. I think there's a lot of other factors. The club's not innocent.
The club's at fault as well.
The club is at fault. But at the same time, no player should act the way him and, of course, Wissa as well, and the agent. Well. Yeah. No player should act like that at all. But it is the same kind of aspect. And, you as a fan, we see it ourselves, you do get attached to these players when they play so well for you for so long, and then it just takes them to leave on bad terms. And you've seen how they kicked off with Isak. Like, I could see the same for Tonali this year.
Yeah, I mean, my view is I don't like him. And I mean, I know it's my club's fault partly, but I don't like him the way he went on about it. I understand him wanting to leave. I was perfectly fine. I was like, oh, he's wanting to leave. He's wanting to go play for Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool's a much bigger club than us. If you were earning more money, you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyways, I think we should maybe move on to the
final part.
The final and my favourite part of the show, the podcast. Sorry, not the show. Is the hot takes. So we've asked 10 people, including friends of mine and Kieran, different hot takes, and they've come back with some of them. We're going to just go over them and debate them because some of them are absolutely woeful.
Some of them are terrible. Some of them are all right.
Yeah. There's one person I'll get onto in a minute who I thought was going to have an absolute horrible take because I've heard some of his takes before, and he's put one of the best ones on here, and I'm really happy to debate it. So we're starting off with our good friend Joe Saunders, who is also a Liverpool fan, and me and Joe disagree on a lot of things, including this statement. So Joe's statement has put, Pep Guardiola is a fraud and couldn't do what he does without the money. Now, I'll start off on this one. I can see where he's coming from. Obviously, Pep's always had the backing of money behind him. But then there's a reason why, because he's the best manager in the world and because he's got the best tactics. If you're the best manager in the world and the best tactics, only the bigger teams are going to want you and be able to afford you. Teams like Bayern Munich, Barcelona, City, obviously. Like, I understand maybe he'd be class if he could do it with a smaller team, which I fully believe he could. I genuinely believe if from my whole heart, if you showed Pep Guardiola with a smaller team because his tactics are so good, yeah, he could do it, not a bother. But I think saying he's a fraud, I think it's just a bit far fetched. I think it's just like he's not a fraud. He's one of the greatest managers of all time. You can't even deny it. Like the fact that if he denies that, I think it's just totally wrong.
I think I pretty much like 99% agree with you on that. I'm going to be honest there. I definitely do. It's just, I think he's a great manager. He really is, as you've said, more rich teams are coming in because he's with his expensive price tag as a manager. and his tactics are phenomenal. But I wish we could live in a world where he would take on the role of like
So
a manager, like
yeah.
I don't know, the Plymouth Argyle or something like that, or some team in like Paris FC or something. Who I think Liam Rosenior might be going there.
Yeah.
But just a smaller team to see what it's like. But I think that's probably over. He's probably going to retire now. Pep.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. He's had his legacy. He's had his career.
Absolutely.
I still, as I said before, I still completely think that like.
I mean, we're talking about a manager here that literally invented the inverted fullback. Like that is he invented that style of play. So you can't have him be like, oh well, he is a complete fraud. I think again, it would be interesting to see him do it at a smaller level. Maybe he wouldn't be able to do it, but I think as far as his tactics go, he is a very, very good manager.
I don't know much about his starting from a manager, but I'll be honest. But in terms of like, I don't know if he went straight into Barcelona or if he went to another job before. But here's the thing: if he didn't, like most managers start off at a smaller team and then get picked up. If he started off at a smaller team before Barcelona or wherever he went to first, well, that just disproves your point because he's done well at a smaller team.
Yeah.
Every manager, like look at Jurgen Klopp, started off at a smaller team, didn't he? Look at Arne Slot. I mean, he didn't do well at Liverpool, but he's a good manager. Won the league in his first season. Started off at a smaller team. Started off at Groningen, then went to PSV.
Well, yeah, we'll back to Jurgen Klopp. Definitely the manager more fondly talk about than Arne Slot, 100%. And I think for in terms of Jurgen, I mean, of course, when he became manager, he was manager at Mainz because he was. I watched the documentary and he was a player for Mainz, and then they had all this issue with managers, and he took on the role of being the manager of Mainz, and he did phenomenal. And again, Klopp, for me personally, I just absolutely love the man. I think he's a phenomenal football manager. Went to Dortmund, did much of the same. Gave Bayern a real run for the money because this is at a time where we've looked over the past few years. It's always Bayern winning the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
There's been a few instances where Leverkusen have won it a couple of seasons ago with Xabi Alonso, and Dortmund have won it a few times. But really, that first start of that trend of a team breaking up Bayern winning all the time was with Klopp's Dortmund. He was just phenomenal. And then he came to Liverpool. There was a lot of people saying why we got Klopp, and then he come in and he proved everybody wrong. And absolutely everyone in that city, Klopp could walk through Liverpool, and I think everyone bows out to the man.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. One of the nicest men you'll ever meet as well. He was just a great manager.
Yeah, great manager, but I absolutely hate his personality. I can't lie.
I loved him.
I think a lot of rival fans. It doesn't do Arteta. I just can't stand him.
No, I agree with that. I don't like Arteta. But I think Klopp, he was more playful. He wasn't like you see managers where they can just genuinely be quite like nasty and they make excuses. But I feel like Klopp as well, he was quite funny with it, and him and Pep were like really good friends, and I think that's why Liverpool and City's rivalry was always so intense. It's because Klopp and Guardiola, it's that friendly competition, wasn't it? It's like, they're like best mates, but they really want to beat each other, and that's why it was so good.
Yeah, moving on, obviously, this was the take I was on about earlier, where I thought he was going to give a really
great take. It is a great take.
Horrible takes. I've heard some of his takes, but I'll give you an example. He's turned around and said to me that Adam Lallana is the best player in the world on the half turn.
He said to me he was the engine of Liverpool's midfield as well when he was at Liverpool.
It's like, no offence, like, come on.
And that's when we had the likes of like Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum playing, so that was definitely probably not his best take. But this is a take from Josh, and Josh has said that he thinks Roberto Firmino is the greatest false nine to ever play football.
Do you know what? I think he is, and I think I'm not necessarily taking this away from him as a player, but there's not many false nines in football.
There's not. It's a very dying art.
Sort of,
it really is. It was a lot more popular back in the day than what it is now, and it is a dying art for modern football to have false nines, especially in the way that he plays.
Yeah.
And the way Firmino was for Liverpool was just class, and you see some of the like passes he's made and stuff, and he kind of like you'd think that like the opponents look and they go, oh well, we know what he's going to do. We know that he's a false nine. He's going to cut forward and drop back. But it's almost like you can never count him because he's doing something different. And he had that flair. He was a brilliant player.
He's underrated. He's criminally underrated.
And I think that is the problem with when you look at the trio of Firmino, Mane, Salah. Everyone goes Salah, 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 Salah. And that's why Mane ultimately left us, because he was in Salah's shadow. Like, I think that was probably a big reason for it. But they all complement each other brilliantly. And I think Firmino doesn't get spoken about as much because it is literally the pecking order everyone kind of looks at is Salah, one of the best Liverpool players of all time. Yeah. Mane, phenomenal player, but just behind Salah, and then Firmino. But they don't look at the way Firmino played and how he basically set up everything for Mane and Salah.
Yeah, I remember one key moment, and he's obviously saying setting everything up for them. I remember we played at Anfield, and I can't remember what the score was, but you absolutely hammered us. And I remember Firmino got this assist, and he did it was like a roulette back heel. and it was such. I just thought, wow, what a player! Like just the confidence to be able to do that.
I think a big kind of nickname for him at the time was the king of the no look. You could always, there was so many games where you'd see Firmino cut into the box or get to the edge of the area, and he would just like not even look, and he would just know there's somebody there. It's that awareness on a pitch that is just phenomenal.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you, Josh, for that take. That was actually a really good hot take, which we both agreed on.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to do something worse, but I'll take it all day. Next one's Josh Harker. Now this one is quite a controversial take. Josh has said Modric is the most overrated player of our generation, and Rakitic is severely, use the word severely, better and gets more. And Modric gets more credit, because of trophies. I butchered that a little bit, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think Modric isn't the most overrated player of our generation. I don't know who is. I'd have to sit and think about it.
That's probably Mersey. I'm joking. I'm joking. No,
funny. Joker sat in the corner over here. No, but Modric isn't the most overrated player of our generation. I don't know who is. I'd have to sit down and think about it. But I agree with him. Like Rakitic is. I'll use the word severely. He is severely underrated.
I tell you who is a bit overrated, actually. I know it's a bit of a deviation from this, but Modric being when he was at Tottenham and stuff as well. Moussa Dembele for me.
Are you joking?
He's a great footballer, but I think he was a bit overrated.
Are you joking? Right,
no, honestly.
That's for the next episode, right?
Okay.
That's for the next episode. Like, keep with Josh's take.
But for the next what was it you were saying earlier as well, back to this about Rakitic? You were saying obviously his numbers generally are just better than Modric.
Yeah, so if you look at Rakitic and Modric's numbers, Rakitic's numbers are better. Doesn't mean he's a better player, but his numbers are better.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree. Like, Rakitic is so underrated. He's probably up there as one of the most underrated players of this generation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of if you look at the numbers and what he outputted for Barcelona, especially playing in the midfield with like Iniesta, and I think he played with Xavi for a little bit, but more so Iniesta, who's like considered one of the great, if not the greatest midfielder of all time. Like,
Iniesta's fabulous.
But I disagree with Josh where he says Modric is the most overrated player of this generation. I don't think he is. Maybe he's a tad overrated.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I think Modric is a bit overrated, but not like to the point where he is the most overrated. And I think I do remember in 2018 when he won the Ballon d'Or and everyone was like, why has he won the Ballon d'Or? And there was a lot of like negativity around it, which looking back on, I don't think it's not like it's the wrong call. I think he probably was the one of, if not the best player in the world to warrant winning that trophy. But I don't think he's the most overrated player. He's very technically gifted. He commands his midfield. I mean, even now, speak of the longevity, he's still playing for Croatia.
Yeah,
he still gets picked for every competition.
Exactly. He is, to be fair.
He's even still playing at a high level. I mean, AC Milan aren't the team they used to be at all.
No, but it's still a high European league.
Exactly, he's still in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's great to talk about considering he was playing nearly 20 years ago. It's incredible.
So overall, thank you for that, Josh. Overall, my take on it is like Modric is a bit overrated. He's not the most overrated player in this generation. Rakitic is severely underrated, but Modric is better than Rakitic. Even though Rakitic's numbers are better, longevity and like how crucial Modric is for Real Madrid.
Absolutely. I think for me, I'm going to go disagree personally. But it is a good... I like it.
It's creative. It's a creative one.
It is a good one, but I'm going to go disagree on that.
So the next one we've got is from Isaac here. And Isaac has said, Arsenal Invincibles are not a top 5 English side in English football history. Now, again, it's similar to Josh's, really. Like, it is what I think. The Invincibles are overrated. That's my take.
They definitely are.
They are so overrated. The amount of draws they had that season, is absolutely mental.
Well, yeah, if you look at, I'm not going to sit and pretend like I know exactly how many points they got when they went invincible, but I mean, generally you look at I'm just checking if it's raining there.
We are. By the way, we are filming this outside, so we were checking to see if it's raining. I've got a feeling it is, but we should be fine. We're in shelter. Anyway, sorry, Kieran. Carry on.
Anyway, yes. Sorry. I think the Invincibles, a team that are definitely a lot better, for my opinion, are Centurions Man City.
I was just about to say that.
100 points.
Just read my mind.
That is an unbelievable feat. Even that season alone, that Liverpool side finished on 98 points. Like, that's still a much better feat in my opinion.
You could win the league off like 90 points easily. You can even win it in mid-80s. You can win the league off mid-80 points and comfortably win it.
again, like, I'm not sure. I can't remember how many points Arsenal got that season. I look like a bit of a wally for not knowing that. But
Yeah, I don't even.
I know it was high, and I know it was probably like high 80s, but it still wasn't like that. If you drop the Arsenal Invincibles into that season, they'd probably finish outside of a Champions League spot.
Yeah.
Because I think the top four just outscore them on points.
Yeah, I think like my view on it is Arsenal Invincibles is overrated. It's still a massive achievement. I can't take it away from them.
No, you absolutely can't.
And,
it is a great achievement.
Yeah, I think that's still a top 5 side in English history. I think them with like 16, 17 Leicester, Centurion City, Lockdown Liverpool, Invincibles, who else? Maybe another Man City side, because the City side you've got
There's
so
probably
many
a lot
options.
of United in there as well.
United as well, Fergie's United, of course.
United have won 13 Premier Leagues, so
exactly.
There's definitely got to be one in there.
Yeah, so I do
probably treble winning United, I'd say.
Yeah, I do. I disagree with Isaac there. Like Arsenal Invincibles are a top 5 side in history. However, they are overrated.
Yeah, unfortunately, Isaac, it's a great take, and I do agree. We both agree it's overrated, but for me, I'm going to disagree. I don't think they are outside of the top 5. I think they're definitely in there.
We've got Jack here next up. Jack has put, if Spurs didn't have injuries, they would have got top 4. If he's winning this season, then that is the worst one I've heard so far.
I'm personally going to disagree with that.
You know this lad, Kieran. Is he a Spurs fan?
No, he's actually a Newcastle fan.
Well, you might as well be a Spurs fan. That is an absolutely horrific take.
It's not a great take. I think it would be more fair to say if Spurs didn't have injuries, they'd finish maybe top half of the table.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But top 4 is
it's a big jump from 17.
It's outrageous. It's like
they did have an injury crisis. Nobody can deny that. Everyone knows that. I do actually personally know someone that is a Spurs fan, and he was even saying like every week there was a new player injured.
Yeah.
But that to me doesn't reflect on the performances on the pitch. Some of Spurs' games last season were genuinely just deplorable.
Yeah, they looked like a relegation side. They
exactly.
Looked poor. And obviously they got De Zerbi, and he did change it around a bit, to be fair. But you can't just blame injuries for not getting top 4. And the quality of sides in that top 4, like Villa, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, they're all just better. They were just better that season. The past 3 years, they've probably been better.
Well, even United, because obviously Liverpool finished 5th and got that bonus spot. So Man United, I think, definitely had a massive improvement.
It's because Man United normally do really bad. So this season they've done really well.
Yeah, you don't think about it.
Just completely forgotten about
They finished in top 4.
What? Man United top 4?
Philly Tate will not be enjoying that one.
Nope.
But yeah, no, I totally disagree. I think like Tottenham just. From that first start where they were just genuinely deplorable, the sacked Ange, which, again, don't get me wrong, I understand from an aspect of, yes, they won the Europa League. They did win the Europa League, but still finishing 17th the season prior, I think it was, or 16th it might have been, that is a bit detrimental to a club, and you go, do we stick with this manager? Yeah, he won us a trophy, but is he the right man for the job? They opted to, and...
Here we are, mate. Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are, mate. You've not seen that with Ange in the interview?
No.
You've not seen that? No. So, Ange, I can't remember who he lost to. It was a couple of seasons ago. And he lost, and they got absolutely thumped. And he went, what's this? He asked something about playing style, I think, and he goes, it's just who we are, mate. Every time I say Ange, I just have to say that because it's just really funny.
I've seen him actually, funny enough, speaking of Ange, I've seen him on the... It was it BBC who had the game yesterday, the Brazil Japan game.
Yeah,
I think it might have been ITV actually. And funnily enough, I was looking and I'm going at the pundits and I was like, "Is that Ange?" I was like, "What's Ange doing on?" But I didn't know he was a pundit. I was like, "What is this?"
mate.
But yeah, definitely when they sacked him, and then they obviously brought his replacement, and then I think an interesting one for me for definite was Igor Tudor. I was really shocked at that appointment. I thought, Tottenham, granted these aren't playing very well, you're still a big club. And like everyone knows, kind of when you think of like England and the Premier League, the big 6, Tottenham still, you go, oh, it's Tottenham. They can attract a better manager. And Igor Tudor for me was a very strange appointment, and I kind of knew from the start his cards were marked, and he was going to get the sack at some point.
Yeah.
And then to get rid of him, and then to get De Zerbi was definitely a great appointment from a tactical view, I think.
Yeah.
And you even seen it; they just performed much better. I think they did still lose a game or two there after De Zerbi came in, but they played much better football overall from when they had in the rest of the season. So for me, I'm going to go with Jack. I mean, that is a strong disagree.
It's exactly the same. That is just an outrageous take. I think the next one's worse, which is
what
it's
is it?
it came from Bailey. Bailey's a lovely lad. I play six aside with him. Kieran works with him. He's a brilliant. Honestly, if you ever see him play football, right, he's like the R9 mini regen. He's incredible.
Very many, because he's only about 5 foot tall, bless him, isn't he? He's a small lad.
That's awful. Anyway, Bailey has said Kevin De Bruyne isn't a top 5 Premier League midfielder of all time. That is
he did expand on that as well, and he said he thinks Bruno Fernandes all time is better than him.
Oh, God.
Which to me, I'm going to disagree with. But I don't even think we need to debate this. I'm just going to disagree on both. De Bruyne is one of, if not the best midfielder in Premier League history.
Listeners should just endure us talking about this.
Yeah,
De Bruyne is not even one of. He just is the greatest Premier League midfielder.
He's just phenomenal, isn't he?
He's just.
You take him out of that City side, and I can guarantee they probably don't win half as many games as they did over that time. De Bruyne is a phenomenal footballer, so I definitely disagree with that.
Going from a really stupid take to quite a good take, I think. Now, as much as I hate my United, I fully agree with it, and I think we might have a bit of an argument about this one, what I'm about to say, but this is Kieran's friend Oliver. Oliver has put 22-23 Rashford was severely underrated. I fully agree.
I also agree, actually.
Yeah.
Was that the season they were in the Champions League? I think was it like the last one or something. It might have been a Europa League season, and I remember Rashford doing quite well. In fact, it was the first season, because this was when the trend had started where we started like absolutely thumping United, and this was that season where we went to Old Trafford and lost and Rashford scored. And watching that game, I was like, Rashford's been really good this game. And even just a couple of weeks after, you're looking, you're going, Rashford's been really good, and he was definitely a bright spark for Man United that season.
Yeah, he was, and I was going to say my next bit was, I remember watching him thinking, oh my God. At that point, this is my hot take, at one point during that season, maybe for about a month, it could have just been a month or a few weeks, Rashford was the best player on planet Earth at one point in that 22-23 season. I remember watching him and just thinking, fucking hell, do you know what I mean? England have got such a talented player there. And he's English. You know, you felt lucky that he was English and that he played for England. He played for Matt. He was brilliant. As much as I hate my United, I fully agree with Oliver. That's a great take.
It is a very good take, I think, as well. I think what's the next one?
I like this one. So this is from Kieran. Not this Kieran, different Kieran. Kieran is, I'm guessing, a Newcastle fan. Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
He's put Bruno G can start in every midfield in the world. And I actually agree. That could be a hot take. I actually do agree. If I go through midfields right now, let's go through the midfield right now. Arsenal's midfield: Declan Rice, Zubimendi, Eze. Is it at the minute? That's who they're playing.
Eze doesn't really play very much for Arsenal.
No.
I think it's
Odegaard, isn't it? It's been Odegaard since he's come back.
Odegaard since he come back from injury. It was
Mikel
Merino.
Well, first of all, he's better than two of those. He's better than Zubimendi. Zubimendi's
Absolutely.
class. I love Zubimendi.
I do like Zubimendi.
Bruno's better. But is he better than Declan Rice? Maybe he's not. You know my view on Declan Rice. I think he's the most overrated player in world football. We can save that for another episode.
Yeah, of course.
But he's still brilliant.
No, but for me, Bruno Gomes gets in Arsenal's team 100%.
Look, go to City's team. Elliot Anderson now. They've got Tijani Reinders, but he gets it over Tijani Reinders.
Absolutely.
Cherky when he drops in midfield.
No, I don't think so. I think Cherky's phenomenal. Cherky is a really, really great footballer.
Well, to be fair, they're two different midfielders. But
yeah, they're very two very different style midfielders. Yeah. But technically speaking, Cherky is one of the best players in the world.
True.
He's phenomenal. But there was even one I seen come up. They were on Sky Sports. There was an interview with the chairman of Man City.
Yeah.
And they were talking about like Pep leaving and stuff. And the clip that they were just showing like general stuff from City's season. And the pass that I'd seen Cherky send into Haaland, it was led to a goal. I can't remember who it was against. It might have been like Chelsea or something. And I've genuinely never seen this before, where Cherky, he did like a Rabona, but he flicked it up into the air for Haaland to header it. And I was just like, that is phenomenal.
Haaland didn't header it, was Foden.
I was a Foden, sorry, apologies.
It was against Sunderland, because I watched that game. I was going absolutely mental, because one, it was Sunderland, and two, I was like, what an assist.
It's unbelievable.
Do you know who Cherky reminds me of? And as soon as he did that Rabona assist, it reminded me of that. Was Dimitri Payet did something extremely similar for West Ham, and Andy Carroll got on the end of it, and it was like such a similar goal. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's got a flashback.
I mean, I think if you're talking about Rabonas as well, you can't not talk about Eric Lamela as well. Yeah. What a brilliant goal that was!
What a
player. But yeah, no, I think City, he could probably get in Cities. Maybe a bit more debate if you're really going, like, if you're going to
he gets another Reinders all day.
Yeah, I think
Reinders has been one of the biggest disappointments this
season. Had a phenomenal start. He was just really good.
Yeah.
I even named my FPL after him. I was like, it's a funny little name. But Reinders was like really great when he first
Yeah,
joined for
he
City,
was,
and
to
he
be fair.
just started falling off. And I think that is a big issue. It's make or break in the Premier League. You either start strong and finish weak. For the most part, I mean, obviously some players excel all season, but you either start strong and you finish a bit weaker, or you start really weak and then you start adapting.
Yeah.
Like the likes of Florian Wirtz for me, I still think, technically speaking, he was very good all season. But
Yeah.
when he first joined, there was a bit more of his physicality wasn't as good, and he wasn't getting as many starts because he just wasn't quite ready. But Reinders, I think he started really well for City, and he just started. It was just a bit of a nosedive, really, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, definitely there. I think Bruno Guimaraes gets in.
Think about it even more. You got Man United. Well, Casemiro, he gets another Casemiro.
Well, Casemiro's leaving anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Kobe Mainoo, he gets another Kobe Mainoo. Bruno Fernandes is the only one who puts him on the team. But then again, different players. Bruno Guimaraes is not number 10. Bruno Fernandes is a number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ugarte definitely gets another Ugarte.
Oh, yeah,
Ugarte is one
massively.
of the worst footballs I've ever seen. He actually is no way for mine. I think every Man United fan would agree.
I'm not a big fan of Manuel Ugarte at all. But yeah, no, definitely gets in the Man United team.
That's all the big teams in England, really. Like, he gets into Spurs, he gets into Chelsea easily as well.
Yeah, I think
PSG, he gets into PSGs. Do you know how I know that? Because he doesn't get over Vitinha and he doesn't get over João Neves, but he absolutely gets over Fabian Ruiz. Fabian Ruiz is really criminally underrated, and he gets over Zaire Emery as well. Because Zaire Emery doesn't get many minutes.
No.
Then you go to Real Madrid, Camavinga, Tuchel, Bellingham.
Yeah, he wouldn't get in.
I think he gets over Camavinga. Now that's a hot take. I do think he gets over Camavinga. Camavinga's class, but maybe he's not going to get slated for this, but being biased. But I think Bruno gets over there. Barcelona, Pedri, De Jong is class. He doesn't get over Pedri, De Jong. But the other lad,
I don't know, De Jong, I do really like him. He's a great footballer, but I don't think he's quite the player he was maybe like 5 years ago.
No, he wasn't, but he's
still class, but I could maybe see him getting another De Jong just about, but it would be...
I think it's the other lad in midfield. Well, they play two in midfield, and they only play number 10 of like Ferran. Not Ferran, what's his name?
Fermin Lopez, yeah.
Who is so underrated, and I really wanted him to come to Newcastle when we were linked with them last season. But obviously,
I think going back to what you're saying, sorry about, I know this is a massive jump back, but PSG, you were talking about Fabian Ruiz. I think he's had like this massive career renaissance. Like he's not moved clubs or anything, but it's like certain players develop better under managers, like different managers.
Exactly.
And when Luis Enrique came into PSG, he's been like absolutely brilliant. Like initially he was kind of like, oh, he's good, he's decent, he's all right, but this PSG squad isn't really going to win much.
Yeah.
Aside from obviously winning league on every single season, but like I think just more recently that's the way he was kind of being used in that midfield. I think for definite, I think he's been phenomenal. But again, yes, I think Bruno gets in over him. He probably gets in the Barca team. Madrid. Again, could be up for debate, but I think he could probably get over Madrid.
Bayern Munich, absolutely. They need a midfield. That's their weakest part of the team. Midfield.
They've got a phenomenal attack, Bayern Munich, and they've got a really good defence, but that is the problem.
They need him. I'm trying to think of other teams as well. Like, you've got, obviously... I just think... I agree. That might be me being biased as a Newcastle fan, but I fully agree. I think he gets into every single midfield in the world. Every single team needs a Bruno Guimaraes. He's finally proven his worth.
I wouldn't quite say every single midfield, but I think he's probably going to get into most of them.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of like a half agree for me.
I fully agree. I'm going to get slated for being biased, but oh well. And the last one of the day is from Hunter, who
second last one, which is one.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Sorry, I've misread one of the bottom.
So this is from. We'll call it, his name's Alfie, but it's Hunter. And Hunter said that he believes this. Mind you, he said this. This is why it's a hot take, because now, I mean, I think everyone, it's kind of it's in the newspaper a lot. It's on Sky Sports. They kind of talk about it. But last year it wasn't spoken about as much. But he said that he thinks Adam Wharton's 100 million. He's worth 100 million. And I said at that table when I started talking to him about it, I physically said no, I don't agree with that. And that was a year ago. Whereas now it is kind of like Palace want 100 million for him. He's kind of talked about as 100 million. He's a great player, but I do disagree. I don't think he is 100 million.
I fully disagree. I think Adam Wharton's one of the most overrated players England have right now.
Yeah.
I seriously do. Every time I've watched him, people go, yeah, watch Crystal Palace, watch Adam Wharton. Yeah, he's a good player, but there's nothing special to him.
I think he definitely dictates. He's probably the best player in Palace midfield.
Well, he is. He is. But he's... Do you know what? Actually, no, I don't think he is actually Palace's best player. I generally think Palace's best player is Ismaila Sarr.
No. Yeah. No,
Oh, but
he's not their best player, but he's the best midfielder. That's what I mean.
midfielder. Oh, he's the best midfielder. Yeah,
Ismaila
yes,
Sarr's
he is.
very good.
Yeah.
I liked Ismaila Sarr when he was at Watford. I thought he was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Gives
Um,
you flashbacks, doesn't he?
oh Jesus Christ, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He loves a goal against Liverpool. He really does.
Yeah, he did.
But no, he was phenomenal at Watford, and then even but he was at Watford for quite a while. Like even when they got relegated, and then it was like, is he going to get a bigger move? Then Palace came in. He started a bit slow, and then even I think it's probably the past 2 seasons, Ismaila Sarr's really picked up, and I think he's a great player for Palace. He really is.
But in other words, like Adam Wharton is not worth 100 million.
No, not at all. I think
he's so
even. I mean, I know being a midfielder, and especially he's a lot more defensive minded. He only scored his first goal for Palace in like the second last week of the season.
Yeah.
Which, granted, again, like I say, he's a midfielder. Goals don't matter as much, but still, to have only just scored your first goal at that point, it's like, I think 100 million for a midfielder is definitely someone that still does score goals.
Like Elliot Anderson. I don't think Elliot Anderson's worth 100 million whatsoever.
No, not at all.
But you can justify a bit more why they pay that, because he scores for Forest and he does all the dirty work and the graft.
He does. I think he's because his total was 113 or like 116. I think it was. I think Ornstein. I definitely, because I posted it myself on my social media, but my first source I seen of the transfer was David Ornstein, and he said, "Oh, it's like 116 million, I think it was," and it's like that is a phenomenal amount of money. And I don't think Elliot Anderson's worth quite that much, but if you're comparing him to Adam Wharton, I totally agree. I think he is worth that much if Adam Wharton isn't. So as for Hunter's take there, it is a disagree for me.
Yeah. And finally, last one of the days from Igor. Igor is a Newcastle fan, I'm guessing, is he?
Igor's always said that he was a neutral fan until last season. He decided he was a Newcastle fan.
So he's still neutral.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And the take I want to just, before you read it out, I want to just say he did say this. How long ago was this? It might have been the start of this year, potentially the back end of 2025, and it was when kind of the player in question started really underperforming after a decent start. So it would have been probably after the first time we had Derby, I think it might have been. So it might have been about January time. And of course, the hot take is he believes that Newcastle should have sold Voltemada.
I completely disagree.
I disagree as well.
Look, he hasn't had his best season. But then again, we say, right, he hasn't had his best season, right? Again, not one to refer to statistics, but look at his statistics. He scored 14 goals.
I know, that's not bad.
He's a young lad who's never played in English football. The Bundesliga is a much slower league.
Is he about 23?
He's 23.
That's because to me, my point was when I pulled that point with Igor, I said, look, at the end of the day, clubs don't sign players for 6 months. You sign them for like 6 years. In contrast, exactly. You know what I mean? It's a project that lasts multiple seasons. You can't get the best out of a player if you expect them to be phenomenal in their first few games, first season, and then you go, yeah, we're not going to keep you. You don't sign players for one season. You sign them for multiple.
No, exactly. The only thing I know is just kind of going against your point a little bit, but I generally, my other obviously belief, Wissa for Newcastle, obviously he's massively underperformed this season for us. Obviously, you said about the egos before and about how a similar situation to Isaac, how he forfeited out the club, and you know he's proven he's a class striker. He's been done well at the World Cup, but never ever hit that high at Newcastle.
Yeah,
and I think, to be honest with you, I think I would sell Wissa instead. I think because Wissa's older, and we I think it's one of the worst bit of business we ever did, spending like 50 million.
I think the problem is I wouldn't sell Wissa, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like, it's not ideal. I think he's not been phenomenal for Newcastle, but I think again I wouldn't sell him personally.
I disagree.
I get what you're saying, but you've got to try and get an overturn of profit as well. But who's realistically going to buy him if he's not like?
Probably the Saudi league, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the Saudis.
They just like to spend money on players.
But I think one thing I didn't get either was around that saga was there was a big signpost outside of St James's Park, and it was written, Isaac is a rat, Wissa is a Geordie, which at the time, obviously I get the excitement of getting a new player, but still to call someone a rat and then, heralding Wissa for it, when realistically I think, in my opinion, Wissa did worse at Brentford than what Isaac did, because it is kind of stated that Isaac was promised he could leave and all this stuff, whereas Wissa, that wasn't really said. Wissa was going to be staying. It just come out the blue, and Newcastle said, we want Wissa. and he just acted like really, really negatively and everything towards the Brentford the club, and I think it's just quite fickle from fans, and I think that is the problem. You kind of have this natural bias, don't you?
Yeah.
But anyway, but back to Igor's point, definitely, I think you shouldn't sell Voltemada. I think, although he might not have been brilliant, I see a great player in there, and if he has the right kind of squad to fit into, he's got the right manager. Which I'm not saying Eddie Howe's not the right man for the job, but if potentially someone else comes along and works better, or Eddie Howe can work with him. Eddie Howe is notoriously known for developing players very well.
Yeah, he's my man.
And he's absolutely fabulous. I mean, what's the most prime example is definitely Joe Linton.
Oh yeah, he's my favourite Newcastle player for a reason.
Like, Joe Linton started as a striker and he wasn't very good at all. And as soon as Eddie Howe came in, Joe Linton's a phenomenal player.
Yes,
and he's great midfielder. So I think, yeah, his man management's fabulous, and I think Voltemada could be, with the right development, could improve heavily. And I think that my point is I disagree with Eagle.
Yeah, I disagree as well. That's all the hot takes for this week, and that is the end of the first episode of Tyne meets Mersey. We hope you enjoyed. Weekly episodes hopefully going to be coming out and getting produced. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. See you later.
Yep. See you later.